to first introduce the team that's with me today. Our Assistant Superintendent, Dale Chu, our Director of Turnaround, Jim Larson, also with our Turnaround Office with Outreach, Jackie Sissel, as well as Emily Acklin, who is out of our Communications Department. I want to start by echoing some comments I made when we were here back in July. And that is, this process is not a process any of us wanted to participate in. Or I can tell you as superintendent, it saddens me that we had to move through the Public Law 221 process to get to where we are today. I also want to reflect for a moment on a couple of comments that were made during that public hearing that evening in July. I think the gentleman's name was Mr. Powers. Mr. Powers spoke about as eloquently as a person has ever spoken at one of those Public Law 221 hearings regarding having expectations and having a passion in the community for holding children to high expectations and then pushing them to meet those expectations. And then, as I was reflecting about what we were going to talk about this morning, my mind also went to Senator Earlene Rogers. I think everyone who's in this room knows of my incredible admiration for the statesmanship and the heart and the passion and the compassion that Senator Rogers has for Indiana school children. I don't say this to be melodramatic. She's a role model for every one of us in education, and I respect her greatly. Senator Rogers spoke of Roosevelt. Actually, I think she even wore her school colors that night. And she spoke of the Roosevelt she knew. Spoke of the Roosevelt she graduated from. Spoke of the Roosevelt that was the pillar of the Gary community. And as a young man growing up and going through teacher education programs, and was a model for urban education. And I got to thinking about Mr. Powers and Senator Rogers and their messages. And I got to thinking about the very difficult decisions regarding the recommendations. And I want to emphasize something Alex said. These are recommendations we are announcing today. The state board will act next week. That we have to make. And I think of Senator Rogers wearing those very proud school colors. I think of Mr. Powers making his comments. And I think as we look at the results at Gary Roosevelt, we have to say to ourselves as adults, our children deserve more. Our children deserve more. And we are long past the day where we blame our children, or we blame our children's parents, or we blame anyone else. Because today is not about blame. I don't blame anyone. Today is about the state of Indiana saying, we're not going to view this announcement as taking anything away from the community of Gary. We are going to put the resources to this school to bring back that pride that Senator Rogers exhibited and spoke of at the public hearing, to make sure that our children have more adults like Mr. Powers pushing them to great things. He said it's not our children's fault and it's not our children's parents' fault. Ladies and gentlemen, demography does not dictate destiny. And our job as a state is to make sure we do that. To make sure that demography never dictates destiny. So let's go back very quickly. In 1999, our General Assembly passed a bill It's now Public Law 221. There were 27 schools facing turnaround in 2009. That fell to 18 in 2010. Today, that number is 7, and today we announced the recommendations for those 7. And I want to say a couple words about how we derived to these recommendations. These recommendations were incredibly deliberative, starting when we put the technical assistance teams in the school and did the reviews, continuing with an ongoing data and information collection, continuing through the community hearings. And we said when we left Gary Roosevelt that evening, we were going to do our absolute best to make the best decision for the children